be clear, as your position as the co-executor of the estate, did Jane Doe 4 receive a settlement from the estate?
So, Congressman Garcia, I have to say two things about anything with Jane Doe's. The first is we're bound by court orders not to say anything about the identity. To the extent someone has sued under a Jane Doe name, we're not permitted by court orders to say who the person is at all. Secondly, putting aside whether it's someone as a Jane Doe or someone specifically identified, we are bound in confidentiality requirements in any settlement. We are, as the estate and the co-executors, to not identify if someone has settled or anything about the settlements. Having said that, any of those claimants who have settled, typically they are not bound by that. So, you're free to ask them if they want to identify things, but we cannot do that.
Good.
Aside from the identity and disclosing the identity to us of Jane Doe 4, any NDAs or non-disclosure agreements, as we have made clear in prior cases, Congress does not recognize. And we have the ability to determine whether we do and do not recognize. In this case, given that you were under subpoena, we would ask that you provide us information whether Jane Doe 4 received a settlement.
And let me, I heard you. Let me continue.
Yeah, but let me just say to that quickly that putting aside whatever order may come out requiring them to disclose, I believe, but I'd have to look at each particular settlement agreement, we likely have notice provisions to the person settling. If we were bound to disclose it, to first notify that person, because they could probably take
To be clear, you're not confirming or denying
we
that there was
cannot.
a settlement with Jane Doe 4. Is that correct?
We cannot.
So, Mr. Indyke, was there a settlement paid from the Epstein Victim Compensation Program to any Jane Doe or Jane Doe 4?
We have the same
Let me go-
confidentiality restrictions.
So you're not unwilling to answer if there was actually a payment from the Epstein Victim Compensation?
It's not a willingness issue. It's a bound by confidentiality provisions.
I'm not going to take that premise, but I understand your position. Mr. Indyke, do you have any additional information on Jane Doe 4 that you can provide us?
No.
Okay, great. Mr. Indyke,
Yes.
the Epstein estate has provided documents and productions to this committee per subpoena, as you're aware, and we have welcomed those, of course, and we've gone through those, and we have continued to go through what's been provided. Not all the documents have still been provided to the committee. There's still some documents we believe that are in your possession. Is that correct?
In my possession, personally?
In the possession of the estate,
In response to the subpoena,
in response to the subpoena.
I think based on conversations that council has had with both minority and majority staff, we've complied with what everyone was
So
expecting.
it's-
If there's more that people were expecting that aren't, let us know.
Are there additional documents with the estate that have not been provided to the committee within the bounds of the subpoena?
Within the bounds of the subpoena, based upon response, my understanding from council is that whatever was agreed upon to be provided has been provided.
Okay, are there additional documents within that the estate has outside the dates of the subpoena, the subpoena was given, that are in possession of the estate?
I'm sorry, outside the dates?
So
I apologize, I'm not sure.
the subpoena obviously has dates of when to produce documents, period of time. Are there documents in the possession of the estate outside the period of time within the subpoena that are in the possession of you and Mr. Khan as the co-executives of the estate?
I'm a little bit of a loss here because, what I did is what I did and what the
So you won't say,
co-executive.
so what you're saying is you won't answer the question if there's additional
No,
documents in
I'm
your possession?
He's trying to.
I'm trying to answer your question, sir. The estate essentially gave the documents to council. So I'm a little bit of a loss as to how to answer that question without conferring with council and council telling me what was it.
I think the question is pretty simple. The subpoena has a period of time. We should be producing documents within that period of time.
Specified document.
Right, specified.
We gave you all the documents that were specified.
Correct. So my question is, are there additional documents related to Jeffrey Epstein and communications outside the period of time specified in the subpoena that are in the possession of the Epstein estate
That you didn't ask for.
that we didn't ask for?
So the subpoena didn't say,
I think
give us
the que-
all the documents in
Correct.
the
The
state.
question's really clear. Are there additional documents outside the period of time specified in the subpoena that are in possession of the Epstein estate?
I assume so, yes.
You assume so, yes?
Yes, yes.
Okay, thank you. I believe next is,
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
My first question, during your employment by Jeffrey Epstein, did you ever become aware of a relationship between Epstein and Donald Trump?
The answer to that question is yes, aware of a relationship that existed before my time.
Okay, did you ever become aware of Donald Trump socializing with Epstein during your employment?
No. Again, my relationship with Epstein was not a social relationship like that. And I don't believe Donald Trump was ever in the office when we were there in New York. And I don't recall off the top of my head whether or not Epstein specifically met with him while I was employed as an attorney for Epstein.
And to confirm, you began your employment with Mr. Epstein in 1996?
1996, yes.
And you said before your time, so you're not aware of any relationship between the two men after 1996?
I am not personally aware of the relationship they had between the time that I was there, from the time that I was there going forward.
Do you believe they had a relationship?
What I recall is that at some point, whatever relationship did exist no longer existed. And I recall that it no longer existed because of some dispute relating to some property in Palm Beach. But I can't tell you what that relationship was from the time I was there going forward, because I don't know.
So you're saying you were not aware of Donald Trump socializing with Epstein. What about with any women connected to Epstein?
I believe that I had learned through a subsequent lawsuit that there was an allegation that President Trump and well, not President Trump at the time, but Donald Trump at the time had some kind of interaction with a person alleging abuse.
Some type of interaction?
I don't recall specific details of it.
When did you become aware of this allegation?
I believe that I received a copy of a lawsuit. So when that lawsuit was filed, then I became aware of it.
Do you have any sense of when that was, what year that
It was
was?
years ago. I really don't. It was years ago.
But you first said you believe that post 1996, Donald Trump and Epstein did not have a relationship, but at some point after that, you became aware of a lawsuit
Yes,
involving Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and an allegation made by them.
I believe the allegation in that lawsuit predated the time that I was working for Epstein. I believe. I mean, if somebody could show me the lawsuit, I could read it and see different.
The lawsuit was 2009.
The lawsuit was in 2009.
That's when Trump was deposed, and that's when Epstein was scheduled to be deposed.
Okay, do you recall the allegation,
Right.
the date of the allegation?
Have you ever, exactly, they are 90s. Have you ever discussed Donald Trump's connection to Epstein with anyone?
Other than privileged conversations that I've had.
Meaning with his lawyers, not, is that what you're
Right.
talking about?
Correct.
During your employment by Epstein, did you ever become aware of Donald Trump visiting a property owned by Epstein, either in New York, New Mexico, Paris, Ireland?
No,
During your employment by Epstein, did you ever become aware of the relationship between Epstein and Howard Lutnick?
no, I didn't know that there was a relationship between Epstein and Howard Lutnick.
So you weren't aware that Mr. Lutnick was Epstein's next door neighbor in Manhattan?
Yes, but that I was aware that he was a neighbor in Manhattan, but I wasn't aware that they actually had a relationship.
Okay, I believe that's my time.
Congressman Inman?
Thank you. I'm going to hand you a copy of an exhibit, Exhibit A. And this is a consent order issued by the New York State Department of Financial Services regarding Deutsche Bank, July of 2020. I'd like you to turn to page 16, paragraph 48. And that reads, several of Mr. Epstein's employees or agents had authority to conduct transactions in the accounts on Mr. Epstein's behalf. One of them, Mr. Epstein's personal attorney, was active in withdrawing cash from Mr. Epstein. Attorney 1, on behalf of Mr. Epstein, made a total of 97 withdrawals from the bank's Park Avenue, New York City branch from 2013 to 2017 for personal accounts belonging to Mr. Epstein. So my first question for you, Mr. Indyke, is Attorney 1 here listed, is that you?
I believe that's me, yes.
And can you explain why you were making these withdrawals?
At this time,
Mhm.
there was a great deal of negative publicity
Was
about.
this done at the direction of Mr. Epstein? I guess I'll start there.
All right.
Well,
I would like him to be able to answer the question, if the question is asked, I know, but he has an answer to a serious allegation.
I'm
So,
asking first, were these at the direction of Mr. Epstein?
okay.
No, I do not believe that they were at the direction of Mr. Epstein.
Okay, you know what the cash was used for?
I don't have a specific knowledge of what the cash in each instance was used for, but I know generally, or believe generally, that when I made cash withdrawals, they were for things, for petty cash to supply the households, for supplies, for cleaning supplies, food.
You gave the cash to who then?
Just to be clear, I don't think he was done. That's okay. I just want the record to be
yeah,
clear
yeah,
that
limited
he
time,
had,
so I'm
I know,
I understand.
but you can't, but
Quickly.
if he's not allowed to answer the
I'm
questions,
allowed to
it
answer the question.
doesn't
I'm trying to
matter.
Redirect him.
Okay, but
and
just to be
that's
clear, he
appropriate.
wasn't done.
Okay.
If you want to go on, that's fine.
I'm asking a follow-up question here, which was the cash, who actually received the cash?
The cash went to the accounting department.
Accounting department
yes.
of Mr. Epstein.
So there was an office down the hall from my office
Mhm.
where the accounting function for Mr. Epstein and his homes was performed. Somebody from the accounting office would ask me for to go to the bank to get money for the petty cash, and the petty cash would service the various households. There were 5 different households. And I would go to the bank with a check drawn on Mr. Epstein's account. The bank knew it was from Mr. Epstein's account. And I would get the cash and give it back to the accounting department.
This is a lot of cash, I just want to note, $7,500 per withdrawal. And that would be 97 withdrawals. That is, over the course of 16 months, a total of over $725,000 in cash.
Just to be clear, that paragraph says it's 4 years, not 16 months.
60.
Oh, I'm sorry,
60,
I misheard. Thank you.
4 years or so, 16 months.
Mhm.
That's a lot of cash, $725,000.
It's a large amount of cash. I
As a
agree.
lawyer, did that not concern you or raise any red flags?
Well, if you knew that Mr. Epstein had 5 multi-million-dollar residences, or 6 actually with the other island, had dozens of staff members, didn't have use of credit cards, all of those residences had lots of rooms, lots of people working there that needed food, that needed supplies, that needed equipment, that needed tools.
To your knowledge, was any of that, and I'm only saying this, sir, because I'm running out of time, was any of that money used to give cash payments to women or young girls?
I just want the record to be clear that he had not finished his prior answer, but go ahead.
So I did not believe that any amount of cash that I gave to the accounting department was going to be used for an improper purpose. I believed that there were legitimate reasons to bring that cash in, and I did so.
Now, I want to switch topics here. Do you have any kind of written representation agreement with Mr. Epstein for the scope of your services as an attorney, a retainer agreement, anything like that?
I believe at some point I did.
Now, that's not available in the files that were produced to us. Is that
I
something
don't know that I actually have it anymore.
you don't have anymore? Okay. What were the terms of your scope of representation and also your payment agreement with Mr. Epstein?
The payment was decided on an annual basis. It wasn't decided.
Not upfront, not based on hour?
No.
Just whatever he decided to pay you, that's what you received?
The answer is yes, but he had always been generous with me, so I didn't have any reason to doubt it.
He was very generous with you. So from 2003 to 2013, according to public reports, your personal bank account received more than $2.4 million from Epstein, while your business account received over $8.3 million. You also received a loan that was never repaid of $7 million, and a copy of Mr. Epstein's trust showed that he planned to leave you $50 million, 50, which was matched only by his girlfriend, Karina Chuliak. What were you doing for him that made him so generous to you?
I think I've already discussed all of the things that I did for Mr. Epstein, which were all legitimate legal tasks. I was working for him at least 6 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week. I was on call 24 hours a day with him. And I was not at liberty to take on other clients in a way that other lawyers in private practice would want to take on clients to continue their business.
I'm at the end of my time. That's a lot of money. Yep. Thank you.
Thank you. Congressman Stanbury.
Hi.
So I represent Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Zorro Ranch is just north of my congressional district. And as you're probably aware, New Mexico has opened a truth commission and reopened the criminal investigations into what happened at the ranch. So my questions are primarily fact-finding, less so much about your specific role, but really about the ranch and the investigations and why DOJ asked the state to drop their case. I also have a follow-up question about Trump as well as your work on the defense team. So that's kind of the scope of what I want to ask about. So as I understand it, you helped to manage the assets at Zorro Ranch, is that correct?
I wouldn't say I helped to manage the assets.
Were you
I'm sorry,
involved in
just, do you
any,
mean now as co-executor or back then?
back then, were you involved in any legal or financial matters over the course of your employment with Jeffrey Epstein and Zorro Ranch?
I was,
You
yes.
were. Did you ever travel there?
I've traveled to the ranch, I want to say 2 or 3 times.
And are you aware that there are multiple allegations that were taken by the FBI of sexual abuse at the ranch?
I have been made aware of those allegations, yes.
Were you involved in any way, legal or financial, in the defense of Mr. Epstein, either in a state case or a federal case at the ranch?
No.
You-
A civil case?
You were involved in a civil
In
case?
a civil case, and I believe there was a case relating to there was a grazing lease that was taken away.
But in any of the sexual abuse cases?
No.
Do you have any personal knowledge and or can you share with us why DOJ asked the state of New Mexico to drop its investigation into sexual abuse?
I have no personal knowledge of that.
Okay. I want to move on to a follow-up question on Trump and this suit that was filed by a young woman against both Trump and Epstein for abuse at her house. As I understand it, looking at both the responsive documents that the estate sent us, as well as separately the DOJ's files, it appears to me that these are 2 separate cases. Is that true?
Could you repeat the question?
So it appears to me that the Jane Doe 4 FBI files that the federal government is tracking, in which a young woman was interviewed 4 times by the FBI for abuse at Jeffrey Epstein's New York estate, is a separate case from the lawsuit that was filed in 2009 against Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump. Is that true?
I don't know.
You don't? Okay. Did you help to process the files from the estate that were sent to the committee?
The answer to your question is I did.
Yes. Okay, so you're aware that in the files there's,
No, that I did not.
you did not. Who
So
processed?
the files, all of the files from the estate went over to the lawyers with instructions to comply with all lawful requests.
So it was handled by an outside firm rather than you?
Was handled by the law firm.
Okay, did you review the documents?
Not the volume of documents that reviewed.
But you are aware, as was just established, that there was a lawsuit in 2009, and there's documentation in the files that were transmitted from the estate that actually state that Epstein was scheduled for a deposition in that case, correct?
I am aware, certainly aware
Yeah.
now.
I
And I was aware,
documents
generally of the case.
Yeah.
I think I was aware at some point that there was a request for a
Was Jeffrey
deposition.
Epstein actually deposed? These are scheduling documents that came from the estate. Was he deposed in that
I
case?
don't believe he was, no.
Do you know why?
I don't know.
Okay, so that goes to my final set of questions, which is, did you personally or anyone that you worked with make any payments or financial transfers to any lawyers, law enforcement officers, DOJ, or state attorneys involved in cases against Jeffrey Epstein for sexual abuse?
Say that one more time, because that's a lot to unpack. So
I think just to be clear, because you asked lawyers, so do you mean lawyers for some government in that question?
Yeah.
Okay,
let me-
that's,
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
ask it slightly slower because we are on a time
I
constraint here.
apologize.
But really what I'm trying to establish, if I may have a moment to establish it, because it's an important piece of the question here, that we're trying to get to the bottom. The overall point here is, why did DOJ and state entities not prosecute these crimes in a more timely manner? And it has been alleged by survivors that they received some sort of payment, maybe there were transfers of money involved. And so let me ask specifics. Did Alex Acosta,
Okay.
as the U.S. Attorney for the Department of Justice, ever receive any money from Jeffrey Epstein, his estate, or any of his business entities?
To my knowledge, no.
To your personal knowledge, you're saying no, but is it possible that he did?
I don't know.
Did any other law enforcement agents, that to your knowledge?
I don't believe so, but I don't know.
But you don't know. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Representative Walkinshaw?
Thank you, Mr. Indyke. I want to go back to compensation. So
Yeah.
when you started working for Mr. Epstein, what was your compensation? It was an annual salary. You remember roughly the amounts? Or was it hourly?
No, when I started, it was around, I want to say 450, 400 or so.
$450,000
Yes.
a year.
Yes.
Okay. And did you, in addition to that, receive any kind of bonus compensation or incentive structure?
I don't recall on a year-to-year basis. When I went back to think about it, what I remember at the beginning was about $450,000.
Okay. And that salary, I presume, increased over time over the course of 23 years.
It did.
And from the time that you were hired until Epstein's death, could you tell us roughly ballpark how much you were paid?
Total ballpark between 27 to $30 million for 23 years.